Ladies and gentlemen, if you enjoy my video, please click the like button and share the video. It is the only way the YouTube algorithms really notices me. I will be very grateful to you. The Taste of Fear. Scary story published by Scare Fiction. Read for you by Scare Fiction. Chapter 1. New Beginnings. Alex stared at the winding road ahead, the late afternoon sun casting long shadows through the dense trees lining the way. Ravenwood, Maine, promised a fresh start, a chance to escape the memories of a painful divorce and the relentless pace of life in Boston. As the small town came into view, Alex couldn't help but feel a mix of relief and apprehension. The quaint charm of Ravenwood was undeniable, but there was something else, something darker that lurked beneath the surface. Driving past the town square, Alex noticed the old clock tower standing sentinel over rows of colonial-style houses and small shops. Locals moved about with an unhurried pace, offering polite nods and curious glances at the newcomer. Alex's new home was a modest, two-story house on the edge of town, just a stone's throw from the infamous Blackwood mansion. The house itself was charming, with white clapboard siding and a welcoming front porch. Alex parked the car and stepped out, taking a deep breath of the crisp, clean air. It felt good to be away from the city. As Alex began unloading boxes, a neighbor approached, a friendly smile on her face. "Hi there. You must be Alex," she said. "I'm Mrs. Thompson. Welcome to Ravenwood." "Thank you," Alex replied, returning her smile. "It's nice to meet you." Mrs. Thompson's eyes darted towards the looming silhouette of Blackwood Mansion in the distance. "You're brave, moving in so close to that place," she said, lowering her voice. "You know about the mansion, right?" Alex shook his head. "Not much, just that it's old and abandoned." "Old, yes, and cursed, some say," Mrs. Thompson whispered. "The Blackwood family vanished without a trace years ago. Some folks think the place is haunted." Alex chuckled nervously. "Haunted, huh? Sounds like something out of a ghost story." Mrs. Thompson's expression remained serious. "It might be. Just be careful, Alex. Strange things happen around here." As evening fell, Alex finished unpacking and settled into the cozy living room. The warmth of the fireplace contrasted sharply with the growing chill outside. Yet, despite the comfort, a sense of unease lingered. The mansion's dark silhouette was visible from the front window, a constant reminder of the town's mysterious past. Later that night, as Alex lay in bed, the wind howled outside, carrying with it a faint, eerie whisper. It sounded almost like a name being called. Alex shook it off, attributing it to exhaustion and the unfamiliar surroundings. But deep down, a seed of doubt had been planted. Sleep came fitfully, filled with restless dreams of shadowy figures and distant, mournful cries. Alex awoke with a start, the whispers still echoing in the mind. The first night in Ravenwood had begun, and with it, an unsettling journey into the unknown. Chapter 2. Unearthly Whispers. Alex awoke with a start, the whispers from the night before still echoing in the mind. The pale morning light seeped through the curtains, offering little comfort. Shaking off the unease, Alex decided to explore the town and perhaps learn more about the mysterious Blackwood mansion. After a quick breakfast, Alex headed out, curiosity piqued by the unsettling rumors. The town was coming to life, and the locals greeted Alex with friendly nods and cautious smiles. Stopping by the local cafe, Alex struck up a conversation with the barista, a young woman named Megan. "Morning," Megan said cheerfully. "You must be new here." "I'm Megan." "Morning, Megan. I'm Alex. Just moved in yesterday," Alex replied. "I've heard some interesting things about Blackwood Mansion. Do you know anything about it?" Megan's expression darkened. "That place? It's been abandoned for years. The Blackwood family disappeared without a trace back in the 1920s. People say it's haunted." "Haunted?" Alex asked, leaning in closer. "Yeah," Megan whispered, glancing around as if someone might overhear. "Cold spots, whispers, shadows moving in the corners of your eyes. No one goes there after dark." Later, armed with a growing sense of intrigue and a touch of apprehension, Alex decided to see the mansion up close. The path to Blackwood Mansion was overgrown and shadowed by ancient trees. The house loomed ahead, its dilapidated exterior and broken windows exuding an air of forgotten grandeur. As Alex approached, a sudden chill ran down their spine. The temperature seemed to drop several degrees, and the hairs on the back of Alex's neck stood on end. Hesitant but determined, Alex stepped onto the creaking porch and peered through a grimy window. The interior was dark and filled with an oppressive silence. Suddenly, a faint whisper broke the stillness. It sounded like a name, Alex's name being called from deep within the house. Alex's heart raced. Stepping back, they tripped over a loose floorboard and stumbled, catching a glimpse of a shadowy figure darting past the window out of the corner of their eye. Breathing heavily, Alex backed away from the mansion, the chilling voice and fleeting shadow playing tricks on the mind. It was impossible, wasn't it? Shaken, Alex returned to town, the cold spot and whispers lingering in their thoughts. That evening, Alex visited the town library, seeking answers. The librarian, an elderly woman named Mrs. Carlyle, was more than willing to share the mansion's dark history. The Blackwood family was wealthy and influential, Mrs. Carlyle began, her voice low. But they were also deeply involved in the occult. One night, they simply vanished. No bodies, no signs of struggle. Just gone. As Mrs. Carlyle spoke, Alex felt a cold shiver run through them. The whispers, the shadow, the tragic story, all pieces of a puzzle that pointed to something far more sinister than mere ghost stories. That night, as Alex lay in bed, the whispers returned, louder and more insistent. The fleeting shadow, the chilling voice, were they figments of a stressed mind, or was there something truly malevolent at Blackwood Mansion? Alex couldn't shake the feeling that the answers lay within those decaying walls, and that the mansion had only begun to reveal its secrets. Chapter 3: Dark Revelations. The whispers haunted Alex through the night, echoing in the silence of the cozy house. Morning brought little relief, as a gnawing curiosity mingled with a growing sense of dread. Determined to uncover the truth behind the mansion's sinister reputation, Alex headed to the town library again. Mrs. Carlyle greeted Alex with a knowing look. "Back so soon? I suppose you're here to learn more about the Blackwood Mansion." Alex nodded, feeling a mix of excitement and apprehension. "Yes, you mentioned the Blackwoods were involved in the occult. Can you tell me more?" Mrs. Carlyle led Alex to a dusty corner of the library, filled with old newspapers and historical records. The Blackwood family was indeed connected to a 19th century cult known as the Order of Eternal Night. They practiced dark rituals, seeking immortality and power. As Alex pored over the records, a chilling pattern emerged. The cult's activities centered around the mansion, with reports of strange ceremonies, disappearances, and unexplainable phenomena. The deeper Alex dug, the more horrifying the revelations became. The Order of Eternal Night had believed that human sacrifices were the key to unlocking dark powers, and the Blackwood Mansion had been their sanctum. Armed with this unsettling knowledge, Alex decided to talk to the townsfolk, hoping to piece together more of the mansion's dark history. Over coffee, at the local diner, A friendly yet wary group of neighbors shared their stories. "There were always whispers about the mansion," said Mr. Hargrove, an elderly man with a cane. "My grandmother told me about the strange lights she saw coming from the windows late at night." Mrs. Johnson, who ran the general store, nodded, and my great-uncle swore he saw figures in hooded robes around the mansion. He said they were performing rituals. Each tale heightened the sense of fear and mystery surrounding the mansion. The townsfolk's reluctance to speak openly only fueled Alex's determination. But with each story, the dread grew, casting a shadow over Alex's mind. That night, the nightmares began. Alex dreamed of the mansion, its halls filled with ghostly figures chanting in an unknown language. Shadows danced on the walls, and cold hands reached out from the darkness. Alex woke in a cold sweat, the echoes of the dream lingering long after waking. Strange occurrences began to plague Alex's home as well. Objects moved on their own, and doors creaked open without explanation. The temperature would drop suddenly, and always the whispers persisted, growing louder and more insistent. One evening, as Alex sat in the living room trying to focus on a book, the whispers grew louder, almost deafening. Alex felt a presence, an oppressive force that seemed to seep into the very walls of the house. The lights flickered, and a shadowy figure appeared at the edge of vision, vanishing the moment Alex turned to look directly at it. Panic set in. Alex realized that whatever haunted Blackwood Mansion was not confined to its decaying walls. It had followed, crossing the threshold into Alex's home and life. The line between reality and nightmare blurred, leaving Alex to wonder if the truth was worth the price of sanity. Driven by a mix of fear and determination, Alex knew there was no turning back. The mystery of Blackwood Mansion had to be unraveled, no matter the cost. The answers lay hidden in the darkness, waiting to be discovered. Chapter 4. The Presence Grows. Alex couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. Every shadow seemed to move with a life of its own, and the whispers were becoming a constant, eerie presence. The paranormal activity wasn't just confined to the mansion anymore. It was invading every aspect of life. One morning, as Alex sipped coffee in the kitchen, the radio suddenly switched stations on its own, blaring static before settling on a haunting melody. Alex's heart raced. It was clear the entity was growing stronger. Determined to understand what was happening, Alex decided to confide in Emma, a local eccentric known for her knowledge of the occult. Emma lived in a quaint, cluttered house filled with books, crystals, and strange artifacts. She welcomed Alex with a knowing smile. "I've been expecting you," she said, her voice calm and steady. "The spirits are restless." Alex explained the escalating hauntings, the whispers, and the shadows. Emma listened intently, her expression grave. "The Blackwood Mansion is a conduit for malevolent spirits," she said. "The rituals performed there have left a dark imprint on this town." As the days passed, the hauntings intensified. Alex's house wasn't the only one affected. Neighbors began reporting ghostly apparitions, objects moving on their own, and chilling voices in their homes. The entire town was on edge, fear spreading like wildfire. Mrs. Thompson, the friendly neighbor who had first warned Alex, came over one evening, her face pale and eyes wide with fear. "My daughter saw a shadowy figure in her room last night," she said, her voice trembling. "And the whispers. They're getting louder." The community's fear was palpable. Town meetings turned into frantic discussions about the paranormal activity, with some residents even considering leaving Ravenwood altogether. But for Alex, there was no escape. The mansion's dark presence had followed home and seemed determined to make itself known. Emma and Alex spent hours researching the mansion's history and the cult's rituals. They discovered that the cult had attempted to summon a powerful entity, a malevolent spirit bound to the mansion and its surroundings. The failed summoning had trapped the spirit, leaving it to torment anyone who ventured too close. One evening, as they pored over ancient texts, a sudden chill filled Emma's house. The lights flickered, and a low, guttural voice echoed through the room. "You cannot stop us," it hissed. Alex and Emma exchanged a terrified glance. The entity was aware of their efforts and was growing more aggressive. Realizing they needed to act quickly, Emma suggested performing a protective ritual to shield Alex and their home from the entity's influence. Together, they gathered candles, herbs, and a protective amulet. The ritual provided some immediate relief, but both knew it was only a temporary solution. The hauntings in Ravenwood continued to escalate, and the town's fear reached a fever pitch. Desperate to end the torment, Alex and Emma resolved to confront the entity head-on. They devised a plan to enter Blackwood Mansion and perform a counter-ritual to banish the spirit once and for all. With the community in turmoil and the entity's presence growing stronger, Alex and Emma steeled themselves for the dangerous journey ahead. The final confrontation with the malevolent spirit loomed, and the fate of Ravenwood hung in the balance. Chapter 5. Confronting the Malevolence. The days of fear and uncertainty had driven Alex and Emma to a breaking point. The entity's growing power demanded decisive action. They gathered their supplies and steeled themselves for the essence, knowing it was their best chance to uncover the truth and stop the haunting once and for all. The evening was cold and eerily quiet as they made their way to Blackwood Mansion. The mansion loomed against the darkening sky, its windows like vacant eyes. Emma led the way, clutching a leather-bound book filled with ancient rites, while Alex carried candles, crystals, and other ritualistic tools. Inside, the mansion was a decaying labyrinth of shadows and echoes. They chose the grand parlor for the séance, setting up their circle with practiced care. The air was heavy with the scent of burning sage, and the flickering candlelight cast unsettling shapes on the walls. "Are you ready?" Emma asked, her voice steady but eyes betraying her fear. Alex nodded, swallowing hard. "Let's do this." They joined hands, and Emma began to chant in a low, rhythmic voice, calling upon the spirits bound to the mansion. The temperature dropped sharply, and the room filled with an oppressive silence. Alex's heart pounded as they sensed a presence gathering, drawn to their circle. Suddenly, the candles flickered violently, and a cold wind swept through the room. The air grew thick with a malevolent force, and the shadows on the walls twisted into grotesque forms. Emma's chanting faltered as a deep, guttural voice interrupted, filling the room with a bone-chilling growl. "You dare summon me?" The voice snarled. The circle of light shattered, and the entity unleashed its fury. The room plunged into chaos as furniture was hurled across the room, and the walls seemed to close in. Alex and Emma were thrown to the floor, struggling to breathe under the weight of the entity's rage. A shadowy figure materialized before them, eyes burning with a malevolent light. It advanced on Alex, who felt an icy grip around their throat, lifting them off the ground. Emma screamed, grabbing the protective amulet and chanting a desperate counterspell. The entity's grip tightened, and Alex's vision blurred. But then, a burst of light from Emma's amulet momentarily drove the entity back. Alex fell to the floor, gasping for air. The entity roared in fury, its form flickering and unstable. "Run!" Emma shouted, grabbing Alex's hand and pulling them toward the door. They stumbled through the dark corridors, the entity's enraged screams echoing behind them. The mansion seemed alive, its doors slamming shut and floors creaking under their frantic footsteps. They burst through the front door, collapsing onto the overgrown lawn, gasping for breath. Behind them, The mansion stood silent once more, its malevolent presence retreating but not defeated. Alex and Emma lay side by side, the night air cold against their sweat-soaked skin. Their bond had been forged in the crucible of terror, strengthened by their shared ordeal. "We have to go back," Alex whispered, voice trembling. "We have to finish this." Emma nodded, determination in her eyes. "We will, but we need to be stronger. We need to know more." As they sat in the darkness, the first light of dawn creeping over the horizon, they knew their fight was far from over. The mansion still held its secrets, and the malevolent entity would not rest until it had claimed them. But they were no longer alone, and together they would find a way to end the nightmare. Chapter 6: Unveiling the Curse. Dawn's first light cast a fragile sense of hope over Ravenwood, but Alex and Emma knew their respite was temporary. The terror they had faced within Blackwood Mansion had only steeled their resolve. They needed to find a way to banish the malevolent entity before it claimed more lives. After a restless night, Alex found a renewed determination. "We need to go back," Alex said, voice firm. "We need to uncover everything about that place." Emma nodded, already gathering supplies. "I've been reading through old town records. There might be a hidden chamber beneath the mansion. It's our best chance to find out more." That evening, armed with flashlights, tools, and protective charms, Alex and Emma returned to Blackwood Mansion. The air around the mansion felt charged with an ominous energy, but they pressed on. Inside, the grand parlor lay in ruins from their previous encounter, a grim reminder of the entity's power. They made their way to the basement, where Emma had discovered a concealed trapdoor beneath a rotting rug. With a deep breath, Alex pried it open, revealing a narrow staircase descending into darkness. The hidden chamber was suffocatingly dark and cold. Their flashlights revealed walls covered in cryptic symbols and shelves lined with ancient artifacts. In the center of the room lay an altar, stained with what appeared to be old blood. The air was thick with the weight of centuries-old rituals. Emma found a dusty, leather-bound book filled with detailed accounts of the cult's activities. "This is it," she said, voice hushed. "This book explains everything. The cult believed they could achieve immortality by binding a powerful spirit to this place. But something went wrong. The spirit turned vengeful, killing the cult members and trapping itself here." Alex's eyes scanned the pages, landing on a series of symbols. These symbols, they matched the ones on the mansion's walls. It looks like they were trying to contain the spirit, but they didn't know how to control it. A sudden, bone-chilling wind swept through the chamber, and the oppressive presence of the entity filled the air. "We have to hurry," Alex urged. "We need to decipher these symbols and perform the counter-ritual before it's too late." They worked feverishly, piecing together the ancient incantations and gathering the necessary artifacts. The symbols had to be drawn in specific locations around the mansion, each representing a point of containment. Emma's hands shook as she sketched the symbols, chanting the words of the counter-ritual. The mansion groaned, and the entity's rage became palpable. Shadows moved with a life of their own, and the walls seemed to pulse with a dark energy. Alex and Emma split up, placing the artifacts and drawing the symbols as quickly as they could. As Alex finished the last symbol, a deafening roar echoed through the mansion. The air crackled with dark energy, and the entity materialized, a swirling mass of shadows and fury. It lunged at Alex, but the protective charms held it at bay, if only barely. "Now, Emma," Alex shouted, voice breaking with fear and determination. Emma completed the final chant, and the symbols around the mansion began to glow. The entity screamed in fury, its form disintegrating into tendrils of darkness. The oppressive weight lifted, and a profound silence settled over the mansion. Exhausted and shaken, Alex and Emma collapsed to the floor. The malevolent presence was gone, the entity banished by their desperate efforts. They had uncovered the mansion's dark secrets and survived its horrors. But the cost had been high, and the memories of their ordeal would linger. As they emerged from Blackwood Mansion, the dawn of a new day broke, promising a fresh start for Ravenwood. Yet, the scars of the past would remain, a reminder of the darkness that had once threatened to consume them all. Chapter 7: Descent into Madness. In the wake of their apparent victory, Alex and Emma returned to their homes, hoping for a semblance of normalcy. However, peace proved elusive. The entity, though banished from the mansion, found a new foothold within Alex's mind. The psychological torment began subtly, with disturbing dreams and whispers, but soon escalated into a relentless assault on Alex's sanity. Night after night, Alex was haunted by vivid nightmares. Visions of friends and family, twisted by terror and pain, their voices accusing and pleading. In waking hours, the entity exploited Alex's deepest fears. Shadows in the corners of the house seemed to move with malicious intent, and the whispers grew louder, more insistent. Sleep-deprived and paranoid, Alex started to question what was real. One evening, Alex stumbled into Emma's house, eyes wild with fear. "It's still here," Alex whispered, voice trembling. "It's inside my head. I can't escape it." Emma, pale and drawn, looked at Alex with a mix of determination and sorrow. "We must finish what we started. The entity is feeding on your fear, growing stronger. We need to complete the counter-ritual." As they prepared for the final confrontation, Emma's demeanor changed. She seemed distracted, lost in thoughts of her own. Alex noticed the tremor in her hands, the haunted look in her eyes. "Emma, what's wrong?" Alex asked, concerned. Emma took a deep breath, her voice heavy with regret. "There's something I haven't told you. My family was part of the cult. I've been running from my past, but it's caught up with me. The entity knows who I am. It's using my connection to the cult to torment us." The revelation hit Alex like a punch to the gut. Betrayal and sorrow mingled with the fear already gnawing at their mind. But there was no time to process the emotions. The entity's attacks grew fiercer, driving them to the edge of madness. Desperate and cornered, Emma made a fateful decision. "I'll confront it alone. You need to finish the ritual, Alex. It's the only way." "No, Emma, we do this together," Alex protested, but Emma was resolute. "I'm buying you time," she said, a steely resolve in her eyes. "It's my past that brought this upon us. I need to make it right." With that, Emma left, heading towards the heart of the entity's power. Alex, heart heavy with dread, gathered the tools for the counter-ritual. The air grew cold, and the whispers reached a fever pitch. Alex moved with purpose, every step a battle against the fear threatening to overwhelm. In the mansion's grand parlor, the scene of their previous battle, Emma faced the entity. It materialized before her, a swirling mass of darkness and rage. "You cannot defeat me," it hissed. Emma stood her ground, chanting the words of a binding spell. The entity recoiled but struck back, lashing out with tendrils of shadow. Emma faltered, the pain searing through her, but she continued, buying precious time for Alex. Alex worked frantically, drawing the final symbols and placing the artifacts in a precise pattern. The mansion seemed to pulse with a dark energy, the walls closing in. The air grew thick, making it hard to breathe. But Alex pushed through the terror, focusing on the task at hand. With a final, desperate effort, Alex completed the counter-ritual. The symbols glowed, and a blinding light filled the room. The entity screamed, a sound of pure rage and despair, as it was pulled back into the void from which it came. Emma collapsed, her strength spent as the entity's form disintegrated. Alex rushed to her side, cradling her in their arms. "You did it, Emma," Alex whispered, tears streaming down their face. "We did it." Emma smiled weakly, the burden of her past lifting. "Finish it, Alex. End this." With the entity banished and the mansion finally at peace, Alex emerged into the dawn, carrying the weight of their ordeal, but also a newfound strength. They had faced their deepest fears and survived, their bond with Emma and their own courage lighting the path forward. The darkness that had once consumed Ravenwood was now just a memory, a testament to the power of resilience and hope.